Chapter 1: The Personal Details of Learning How to Think Fast. Looking can be listening. Watching the subtle changes in someone's eyes is deep listening. Long before she spoke, I could hear the pain. I could feel her confused, desperate sadness and the shock at being completely abandoned by those people that she loved the most. I looked directly into the eyes of the woman before me and watched curiously as the tears began to flow in synchronicity with the words that poured out of her. Often, the women I meet with have a unique story framed in a consistent theme of confusion, as if they just woke up from a dazed sleep. I really do not know how I wound up here. This woman's husband of 32 years just left her. To her, this was a sudden and unexpected blow. I really don't know how I wound up here. A car accident left her 17-year-old son paralyzed. He now required 24-hour care, and she had no savings, no financial security to support this. I really don't know how I wound up here. This woman's husband and 3 kids died in an accident, and the accident, they were with a woman that her husband had been having an affair with, who was also killed. I really don't know how I wound up here. This woman's 3 attempts at building a business had failed, and she was left completely bankrupt with no income, no security, homeless, and with 2 children. The tragedies that my sisters have suffered are varied and seem to have no end. Some types of trauma make sense, such as an unexpected accident that leaves a child permanently disabled and changes the trajectory of a person's life. There's another type of trauma that silently eats away at a woman, and simply by virtue of the fact that there is no obvious dramatic event to blame, the inner trauma becomes a source of deep shame. It's like there's no excuse for it. And so the blame is turned inward, and that cycle is compounded and further exaggerates the trauma. In comparison to some of these examples, my little story is insignificant, but it is, after all, the only one I have. And I'm sharing it because I, I wonder what would happen if my experience were enough. What if, by sharing the simple, real life that I have lived without justification, without apology, without dramatizing or minimizing, what if one single other woman on this planet was encouraged, inspired, educated, freed, or helped in any way? I have nothing else to be. I have nothing else to offer except for this hope. And I just am sharing because I'm at a point where I I need to. I want to. I feel that there's no other option, and I don't really know why. So I have to believe that there's someone out there that needs my particular message. I have no idea why. So here it is for you, whoever you may be, with all the love I have in my heart. I've only been able to really help in ways that seem kind of small to me, but sometimes the impact it can be surprisingly monumental. So it's possible that I'm here to walk just one step ahead of you on this rugged trail and reaching back to grab your hand and pull you over the next boulder. That could mean the revenue in your business is doubled. That's happened. It could mean that you set a better boundary that frees you from years of angst or abuse. It could mean that you change a tiny little habit that gives you a glimmer of hope that allows you to make a better choice just for today. It could mean that your gaze is lifted and you just begin to see possibility around you that you didn't see before. So I'm going to share a little bit of my story here, and then this video will segue into the chapter 1, which is called Go West, Young Woman. And then I'll come back to more of the details of my particular story. Looking in the mirror, I watched my own eyes fill with tears as my heart beat faster, and I brushed the lingering items from the bathroom countertop into my overstuffed bag and forced the zipper to close on the jumbled contents, along with decades of pain that I couldn't help but bring along. Outside, I tossed that bag into the back of my minivan, and as I squeezed the small cooler among the boxes piled on the passenger seat, I caught the mirrored reflection of my 9-year-old son, who was kneeling to say goodbye to his dog. My stomach absolutely churned, but I slammed down that emotion as I slammed the door to the car and slid into the driver's seat. He climbed into the back, and I pulled out of the driveway without a word and closed the door on a very long chapter of my life. At that point, juice, coffee, bagels, and a great audiobook served as a distraction and an antidote to the need for conversation as we began our drive. And I was going to have a solid 8 hours to think about what to do next. I was leaving a marriage. Well, I'm going to tell you about that, okay? So my body literally began to shiver as we reached the top of the nearly 11,000-foot mountain pass, and it wasn't the cold. It was my own version of I really don't know how I wound up here. Bubbling out physically. 35 years of my life. How did this happen? My mind frantically reviewed the snapshot memories. At 19 years old, I met the man that I would spend 35 years with. I knew him as ambitious, driven, and destined to succeed overwhelmingly. I didn't know the secrets, the lies, and all the reasons why this would never happen. I saw what I wanted to see, and I was determined to hold true to ideals, dreams, and hopes that I just truly believe if I clinged to tenaciously would eventually come forth. I wasn't going to veer from my ideal of what I believed could be. At that time, I wanted to be a performer, a dancer, a writer, a sports psychologist, a speaker, a trainer, a leader. I wanted to contribute something powerful. I wanted to learn everything I could to be the person who was able to do that. I wanted to make an impact and spread massive amounts of cheer throughout the world. I wanted to delight, amaze, and bless everyone I met. And I knew that somewhere inside of me, I had these abilities. I wanted to inspire and give and grow. Instead, I married someone that was really never the right fit for me, and I couldn't let myself leave, and I allowed myself to be limited and bound by all of the extenuating circumstances that arised as a result of that. The idea of divorce was just not acceptable to me. So I stayed in a very lonely, extremely painful relationship, and I focused on raising my kids, who I adore. As you know, if you're a mother, my children, that is a completely another video. What incredible people they are, and how blessed am I, which makes all of it worth it, but it could have been done in a really different way. So what is the problem? The problem, like with all of us, is limiting beliefs, and they come from a lot of sources, right? Environment, parents, ancestors, educators, etc. At my core, I was a lost little good girl. So here's some of the things, just a few. Others first, do anything, and more importantly, do nothing that might threaten another girl's place or self-esteem. Win just enough to prove you are capable, but stay down low enough to make sure you don't threaten anyone or steal light from them, and make certain that you have just a few crumbs of love. At no cost must you risk the chance of being not nice, not kind, and not thoughtful. Give and don't receive too much attention or praise unless someone absolutely insists. And when and only when and only if they insist, you will know that you actually deserve it. But it is only real if they really insist and push and demand that you are whatever, wonderful or whatever. Until then, be sweet, be pretty, but not too pretty. Be smart, but not too smart. Don't tell anyone what you're capable of, because it might hurt their feelings and make them feel bad. Raise up others. Sneak in through the side door to take a place. Don't enter with too much flourish, or you will cause resentment from other women. Stay away from the men who think you are beautiful, because you don't really deserve them, and they will lie and cheat on you anyway. Wow. So we all have versions of that, right? And I'm going to talk about these in this next video. But I mean, I've always wanted nothing but to be wildly successful and to serve and give and grow. I had so many dreams and desires. I had ambition, determination, drive, energy, inspiration. I read so many books, took so many courses. I was a personal development junkie from very, very early on. So what happened? What caused this? I honestly don't know how I wound up here. I'm going to tell a little bit more of the story, and then move into the other video, and we'll tell more details later. But basically, we got over the pass, and like moving from a teapot, the teapot I was in before, into a teacup, we relocated from a small mountain town to an even smaller one. At least I didn't yet know everyone that I ran into at the local market, although that was destined to quickly change. The initial relief of leaving my spouse was soon clouded by a number of really stressful circumstances. So my elderly father's marriage collapsed, and he decided to move into the house where we were living. My older son hit an extraordinary low point with some major health issues. He was literally bedridden and had to be cared for, so he moved in with us. My husband followed us and was sleeping on the couch. I was driving 3 hours each day to take my youngest son to school and work on continuing to build a business that I was building. And that daily trek included what often in winter was an incredibly harrowing drive down a very steep and curvy mountain canyon. My older son's health issues required a level of attention that was absolutely ridiculously demanding. And I was working constantly, building a business and juggling a new business opportunity as well. The stress of all of that, plus I was navigating a divorce. and it all began to take its toll. Now, I want to share with you this next video, which is basically, I want you to watch it. And then if my story is interesting to you, I really believe that there are some things that can be helpful to you as a woman entrepreneur. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much.